This is FightFans Radio.
Wow, I totally missed my cue. Ha, my bad. All right, everybody, welcome. Brand new episode of FanAddicts MMA show. I am your host, Erica Lewis. I am joined by some of the best people on this planet, Justin Cohey and David Wolf. What's going on, guys?
What's good?
What's going on?
So we got a little bit to talk about today. I wanted to kind of humble brag about my trip to Toronto. I'm starting to really dig that term now, humble brag. And we have to talk about the UFC 152 results. We got to talk about the cancellation of the Strikeforce card. I mean,
John Jones.
Of course, we're going to talk about Johnny Bones Jones. And we got to talk about this weekend's. Well, we don't have to. We're not going to do any kind of real predictions for it, but I think we should talk about the Fuel card this weekend and kind of this. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know. Cohey, have you really thought about it?
It looks like a good show, but I'm still protesting.
You're protesting full TV.
I mean, I'm actually setting up my DVR. I'm going to be out of town this weekend, so I'm actually setting up my DVR right now so that I can come back and watch it. I mean, I can understand why like a lot of the British fans aren't really happy with the card that they're getting, but for a Fuel card, it's actually pretty decent. I think the Brits are just kind of feeling a little neglected in that they haven't. UFC hasn't gone overseas to the UK in quite some time, and when they do, it's kind of a throwaway card to them. But I'm excited for it.
I don't know if I can say I'm excited for it. You know what? I'm a little bitter about it because I was supposed to go to the UK for this card, and they pulled me off the trip. And I guess maybe that's just what it. Maybe I'm a little resentful that I didn't get to go and be a part of it.
It looks like an action show to me.
Bitches. I think they did an all right job for a card that doesn't have huge names on it. They did. Joe Silva did his thing. And kind of matched up guys together that are going to deliver exciting fights, at least on paper. I don't know, that main event, my brother and I were talking about it, and he was like, "It's that tall dude." And I was like, "Yes, and Stipe Miocic. Guess where he's from? Cleveland, Ohio." Yes.
I was about to say, he's from, like, Midwest nowhere.
Yes. I was like, that is where he's from. So, I don't know. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's start off talking about 152. Did you both watch? Is my first question.
I watched it to some extent. I was streaming it. The stream went out during the flyweight fight, the controversial flyweight fight.
I don't know what was controversial about it, but
well, controversial in that fans booed it, and then Dana White.
Oh, yeah, okay,
made
yeah.
controversial statements.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Dana White made asinine statements. This guy's an ass clown, telling people not to buy his pay-per-views. Is he stupid? This is not even like a store where you go in and have to steal a product physically. You have fans that, okay, you don't want me to buy your pay-per-view? I'll stream it for free.
Yeah.
I'll keep my $50. Fuck you, Dana.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's a huge problem for the UFC. We've seen that in the last few years. They're really starting to crack down on people streaming the fights. Dana White also during the I don't
it's
know.
Still
if it,
very, very easy. Very easy.
Is it really? Is it that easy? I'm so bad at that stuff.
Oh yeah.
I was even bad at like Napster stuff. I was just bad at it. I ended up with like 50 copies of, the same song with a different title. It was just awful. I'm just not very good at that stuff. So I also heard that Dana White thought Brian Stan won the fight.
I heard that.
Against Michael Bisping. Cody, tell me you saw the fight.
I actually haven't seen one fight from that show, which is I've seen highlights, and I saw a 3-round breakdown of like the big stuff that happened in the big Bisping Stan fight. And the one highlight they had for Stan was the punch in the first round. Everything else was Bisping taking Stan down. And, everything I've read and everybody except for Brian Stan and Dana White think that Bisping won the last 2 rounds pretty much hands down.
I don't get it. I really don't understand how anyone could have scored that fight for Brian Stan. I like Brian Stan. I am also, and hold on to your hats here, fellas, based on interaction I had with Michael Bisping before his fight, I may also be a Michael Bisping fan now.
Oh, wow.
I was backstage getting ready. I was training for my new position, so I was going over a bunch of things with the guy that...
Humble brag.
So I'm backstage doing my thing. I mean, you hear me say that, and in your mind you might be thinking something glamorous. I mean, they literally stick us in the darkest, dankest corner they possibly can. We are the afterthought of the afterthought, as far as the rest of UFC production is considered. Because we really aren't, the show can go on without us. The show can't go on without everybody else. So we are like literally last in line for everything. So we're kind of in this weird little spot, but we could see all the fighters as they're walking back and forth. And Michael Bisping walks by, and I like throw my hands up in the air at him, and he like proclaims his love for me, and I'm like, I love you too, man. And it was a moment. We had a moment, and I might be a Michael Bisping fan. I don't know. I have to think about it.
He proclaimed his love for you?
Yeah, there was a lot of before their fights.
What did he do? Whip out his penis or something?
These guys are really lovey-dovey before their fights. Greg Jackson was really happy and walking around. John Jones was really happy and walking around. The only person who seemed a little, I don't know, somber was Cain Velasquez. He was backstage, and
he's always somber.
He just does not smile. Like that man does not know what a smile is. I don't get it. Just dark eyes, kind of a frown. Not really a super frown, but definitely a little bit of a frown. You're like, man, I'd really like to say something funny to you, but you might
even his pride is brown.
Oh, you are so funny. You really are. So, did you see? Well, you did see the Michael Bisping, Brian Stan fight, though, right, David?
I did, yes.
Do you think there's any way? Like, even if maybe you like stood in your head and, I don't know, guzzled a pint of gin at the same time, that you would be able to score that fight for Brian Stan?
I'd look for any reason to score against Bisping, and really just couldn't. I think 1 round could have gone to Stan. Probably should have gone to Stan, but giving him 2 rounds, either of the last 2 rounds, I don't know what Dana was watching. But then again, Dana gave his list of UFC's biggest draws, and I don't know what metrics he's using, but certainly not based on pay-per-view, which would seem to be the most important one. But who am I?
And who did he call one of the biggest draws?
He called the biggest draws GSP. He had John Jones at like 4th, and John Jones is clearly number 2 as a pay-per-view draw. He had Rashad ahead of him, and he had Chael Sonnen ahead of John Jones as a draw, which to me is completely laughable because on pay-per-view, Chael is only drawn with Anderson.
Yeah.
Only time he's ever drawn. So he had Anderson, Chael. No, I'm sorry. Rashad he had behind John Jones, I think. But he had Chael ahead of him, which strikes me as completely outrageous. I don't understand how UFC's bottom line is how Chael can affect it in a stronger way than John Jones. It's just not so. I mean, what is live attraction?
If you look at, I'm sorry, David.
I'm just saying, maybe if he's not looking at pay-per-view, what else could he be looking at? the live gate, which is almost meaningless as well. And even there, I mean, I just don't know what you could be using. Right? Chael fought, who did he fight? Stan on pay-per-view? And he was like third from the top. That didn't do any business with 2 other fights on there. John Jones does 500,000 buys. Yeah, John Jones does 500,000 buys against anybody he fights. I think it was just another way to disrespect John Jones.
You know, Dana White, I mean, he's always kind of, he's always had those moments where he said something completely crazy and insane, and we talk about it. But
he said Brock Lesnar was never their biggest draw. There's another thing that's okay. Oh, okay, Dana.
So
yeah, maybe in the live gate, which is meaningless to your business, or not meaningless, but you're looking at pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar, who sells 1 million pay-per-views over and over again, was never our biggest draw. You're insane.
So let me ask you this, David, and even you too, Justin. Does it seem like maybe Dana White is cracking under the pressure? It seems like he's been lashing out a lot more recently, and of course he's also battling what is it, Meniere's disease?
He's got that disease. Yeah, that probably has a lot to do with it. I mean, he's a loose cannon though. He always has been. But I don't know how you can justify. It's irrelevant whether the fans. First of all, the fans paid the ticket, so they have every right to boo. I think it's ignorant to boo fighters during a fight, especially, and when guys are putting forth the performance that these two were, it's insane. But they had a right to do that. And as the president of the company, how do you tell those fans not to buy your pay-per-view when clearly this fight did not overly impress a good portion of your audience? And when you know that there's an easy way to steal the product from you, I mean, how do you justify going out there and saying, look, don't buy any more pay-per-views from me? And people say, okay, no one's going to listen to that and everyone's still going to be into UFC. That ignores the issue of piracy.
So, now, Justin, I'm going to ask you something, and this is Erica being crazy and a little bit of a loose cannon right now. I feel like Dana White has been this loose cannon. He's always been the loose cannon, but it seems like his grouping is getting a lot better right now, and it's all happening way too close together. It's just one thing after another, after another, after another. Whereas before it was Dana White would say this one crazy thing, and then he'd do a whole bunch of good stuff, and we'd all be like, "Oh, Dana White did this for the sport, and we love him." But it seems like there's a lot of crazy shit going on. First off, is that my imagination? Do you get that feeling as well?
It could be one of two things. It could be Dana White just flying off the handle a little more than even what we're used to. But I think Dana has unfortunately created this image for himself in a negative light, not only amongst the fans but in the MMA media community as well. You do have the guys like Ariel Helwani are quick to drop on his knee for him and that sort of thing, but sorry, but at the same time, it's almost like it's
the wannabes.
Yeah, the whole wannabes. But it's almost kind of MMA has gotten to a point where it's very popular, and a lot of websites and media coverage is started covering the sport more closely. So it was kind of like when like with Columbine or with like the dude who was supposedly on bath salts and ate that homeless guy's face. It was like, and then all of a sudden the media is covering every single school shooting. This media is covering every single instance of someone acting like a zombie when they're on bath salts or overdosing on drugs. I'm not saying that, yes, Dana White is, a perfect little angel and that he's not flying off the handle a lot, but at the same time, I think the coverage of him flying off the handle is more prevalent than it's ever been.
Okay, fair enough. And I wanted to discuss with you guys real quick the possibility of Dana White getting replaced. I think the pressure from Fox, if he continues to fly off the handle like this. Before, when it was just Zuffa and the UFC, it was fine. But now they're partners with big guys, and big guys like to control things. And I think it's a really good possibility that they might insist that somebody else be the person to talk on behalf of the product, at least as far as Fox is concerned. And I was thinking about it. I was like, who could replace him? And I think, honestly, he doesn't have quite as much personality as Dana White, but I think in certain instances, having a slightly more boring personality is better than telling millions of your fans to not watch the fights if they didn't like the flyweight fight. And I think Scott Coker could be a real, if he kind of bides his time. He's a very quiet guy. He rarely ever causes any trouble. Very well spoken, definitely very professional, very passionate about the sport. But just not the loose cannon that Dana White is. Do you think that's ever a possibility that they may utilize Scott Coker in a more useful way moving forward in the UFC or for Zuffa, at least in terms of the way that Dana White is acting? And that's for either one of you, for your thoughts on that.
I don't think Dana White has the highest, the greatest feelings towards Scott Coker. I'm not exactly sure where that stems from.
I mean,
but
I think if it was something that was a decision made, it would obviously not be Dana White's at all. I mean, Dana White would never replace himself. But if the powers that be, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Dave.
I was just going to say, UFC being a private company, I guess there could be Fox pressure, but then you're still dealing with the Fertittas. And ultimately, it's the Fertittas and Dana White. They would have to decide that.
Right.
I just don't. I don't see Fox. Fox is not going to care that Dana White has told his audience not to buy pay-per-view.
You don't think so? You don't think that Fox cares that the president of an organization they've vested in heavily is telling its fans to not watch the programs?
Yeah, I really don't. I think they'd care more if he called someone a cunt or spoke disparagingly about gays.
But at the end of the day, doesn't it do the exact same thing? Doesn't it? But all of it pushes away fans. I mean, at the end of the day, the reason they don't want Dana White calling people cunts is because it will turn fans off. The reason they don't want him calling people fags is because it turns fans off. You don't think directly telling fans to not watching things is not?
I think Fox is free, So I could really see fans answering that fans are not going to not watch a show for free because Dana White is screaming at them. They won't pay money to see his fights. And Fox doesn't really care if you're paying money to see fights. Fox wants you to watch their channel for free. And I think if you like fights, if you like MMA, it doesn't matter what Dana White says. You'll watch fights for free. Okay. I think the issue comes in whether you'll pay money to see it.
Fair enough.
That's wrong. Fox could hear this and say this man is ridiculous as a head of the promotion, and they could maybe put pressure on the Fertittas to remove him.
What I think really needs to happen is I don't mind Dana White as staying in his position as kind of like guy behind the scenes running the business, because I think Dana White and the Fertittas have done a great job of moving the sport forward to where it is today. I think they just need to come up with a different face for the company. I don't necessarily think Dana White needs to be, removed from his position entirely. I just think he needs to take a far less public role. And I almost think maybe a retired fighter would be good, like Randy Couture or something would be a good face for the organization, to head up the press conferences, to do these media scrums and that sort of thing, but allow Dana to keep his position and make the decisions that he does.
Okay. I am of the opinion, I don't know if Dana White would know how to back off. I think someone else would. I think a Scott Coker would. I think even what was his name? Is it Ed Reed? Was he the president of WEC?
Ed Harris.
Ed Harris. That's what it was. Ed Reed is the actor. All right, here we go.
Reed Harris.
Is it Reed Harris? Oh, Jesus.
It's Reed Harris.
I blame Cohee for that. All complaints.
I even met and talked to the guy for 20 minutes at a freaking DC event.
He is at every single solitary event. What does he do? Not a clue. Not a clue. But he is at every single solitary event in his suit. I don't think Dana White has the capacity to really back off. I think that's his personality to kind of be in the limelight. But I agree with you 100%. I think he needs to not be the person in the limelight. And I really do think it's going to become an issue in the future. It's going to become a hindrance for forward movement for the UFC if it hasn't already been a bit of a hindrance for the UFC. And eventually one of their big partners is going to put up a stink about it. And we'll see some sort of drastic change, whether that's Dana White removed as president or Dana White, completely shut off from the cameras and somebody else steps up to be the quote-unquote spokesperson. I hear Jessica Simpson is looking for a job. So,
I'd love to have been a fly on the wall with the Fertittas and Dana White discussing Dana's suggestion that fans not buy any more pay-per-views. I would like to have seen the reaction, the private reaction of Fertittas. Because it really is the Fertittas' money.
Yes.
That Dana's playing with. That Dana's telling people.
And I can tell you this. I can't say any names, but I did end up talking with a couple of people who work for the UFC, who directly work for the UFC, and the consensus seems to be, well, no, not John Jones, somebody else. You wouldn't even recognize names if I said it, but just anyway, that the cancellation of UFC 151 was both unnecessary, one, and two, it was the worst decision the UFC could have made. And that is a direct quote. It was the worst decision the UFC could have made. And, we understand the financial repercussions of it. It was felt by a lot of people who bought tickets to go see the fight. And the fighters did get paid. So, there really shouldn't be a whole lot of griping about that. They got paid for doing nothing.
Yeah, but you have to take into account they're paying for these training camps. They have to pay for another training camp. Fighters are getting screwed.
I mean, they got a paycheck. They're the same paycheck they probably would have gotten before. They're still paying out the same exact money they would have had to pay out before.
But they're going to be rebooked for the same fight, and they're going to have to pay for another fight.
Yes, and they'll still get paid for that fight because they're actually fighting.
Yeah, okay, that's true.
Yeah, so it's not
Fair
like
enough.
it's not like
Fair
the
enough.
UFC paid them for 151 and then said you had to come do this other fight, and we're not paying you for it.
If
That
they
would
got
be
paid
screwed.
exactly what they would have gotten paid, you can't really.
Yeah, no, I mean,
And of course, the bonuses are not being.
no, bonuses are not
That's a
guaranteed.
problem.
Although we'll have to talk about that in a hot second.
Oh yeah, the sub of the night.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about. No, I do know how I feel. I don't like it when the main eventers get of the night bonuses. I mean, if you disagree with
They
me,
deserve it. I have no problem with it, but I kind of feel that Vinny Magales, however you pronounce his last name.
Well, okay.
That was a sweet fucking armbar.
So
Sweet armbar.
if I agreed with said policy, I would argue that Bones deserved it over Vinny, and I will tell you why. A white belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu just submitted a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. A black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu submitted a guy who knew nothing about it. Expected. A white belt submitting a black belt, not expected. I think it makes it the more impressive submission.
John Jones is not really a white belt, though. He's not a black belt, but he's no white belt.
He sucks at jiu-jitsu, his own words. And it's something that he doesn't.
And he tapped out. He used an Americana to tap out a black belt. I don't think he sucks at jiu-jitsu. He's got a wrestling background, which I think really means you pretty much start as a blue belt.
Sometimes that's what it means. You currently train, and I've trained before. That's not always the case with wrestlers. Although they tend to have a much stronger base
And control, yeah, I mean,
and control. But that doesn't mean they can submit anybody.
no, of course not.
But
I tend to agree with David in this situation with Vinny's armbar, because that was fairly early in the fight and was just crazy impressive.
I mean, he's a black belt.
I'm
It's
not
supposed to
saying
be
John
impressive.
Jones' Americana wasn't impressive, but at the same time, it happened at a point in the fight where Vitor Belfort had already been beaten up and was gassed and was essentially defeated already.
He mentally quit in the first round. How about Goldberg calling it a Kimura?
That's a mistake a lot of people make. A lot of people make that mistake. They're both key locks.
A decade.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. Because there were guys in the back.
He's never called anything an Americana. He's not aware of the distinction.
A lot of people in the back were trying to figure out what it was, and I was like, "No, that was not a Kimura. Let's establish that right now. It was Americana." And they were like, "It was a key lock." I'm like, "Yes, both a Americana and a Kimura are both key lock grips, but they are, there's a difference between the two." I don't know. I don't know. I can't. Vinny is a black belt. He was expected to submit him, and he did exactly what was expected.
That's a decent argument. I mean, I could see it either way. I find it interesting that Dana White would actually award John Jones a bonus after all their.
Dana White reminds me of that father that like beats the shit out of his kids and then takes them out to McDonald's afterwards.
Here's some ice cream for you.
Yeah. He's never going to say sorry.
No, he's just using it so the next time John Jones complains about it, he'll be like, "Yeah, ask John Jones if it feels like we're not doing enough for him with that bonus he got from from the Americana."
Let's talk about that knockout that Cub Swanson had. We've seen a lot of knockouts. A lot of knockouts.
I believe I was the only one that picked Cub Swanson. Or did you too, Erica?
I think it was one of those, if it goes to the ground, I think Oliveira is going to destroy him, but I really want Cub Swanson to win because I like the palm trees that come out of his shorts. I do. I think that's awesome. That was an impressive KO by Cub Swanson. Did you see the clip of that, Kohi? Tell me you at least saw the clip of that.
Yeah, it was just a really strange how I saw like a slow motion version of it, and it was just funny to see Cub Swanson throw that overhand right, hit Oliveira right in the temple, and he takes like 2 steps back, and then he grimaces and goes down.
Yeah,
delayed reaction.
Yeah, it was really kind of pretty strange.
Cub Swanson's looking
good,
fucking impressive though.
Yes,
this is a guy who's really improved.
Let's talk just briefly, and I mean ever so briefly, Matt Hamill, Roger Hillette, the worst fight they could have put on the main card. I complained about it before. I will continue to complain about it. Why was Matt Hamill and Roger Hillette on the main card? No reason. There was no
Matt
reason.
Hamill is the man who defeated John Jones, the only one.
Oh, that's true. That is very true. He is the only man to.
What's ironic is that the T.J. Grant Evan Dunham fight it got bumped down to the prelims, and they ended up having an amazing fight.
It was an amazing fight.
I thought Jimmy Hedges against Marcus Brimage was great too.
Yeah, that was a good fight. Did you guys agree with the decision with T.J. Grant over Evan Dunham? I'm such an Evan Dunham fan. I was so sad to see him lose that fight.
You know what?
He was outlanding
he didn't lose the fight,
Grant,
but he lost the contest.
Okay,
the scoring was correct. The guy, those first 2 rounds weren't his. And the last round wasn't strong enough for 10-8.
It's strange to be in the back and watching the stats as they're coming in and seeing Dunham completely outland Grant, but the punches that Grant was actually throwing were definitely more significant in terms of their impact on Dunham. And it didn't help that Dunham kept circling around, letting himself get his back to the cage. I think the fight would have gone differently if he had managed to get out of that spot and reverse it. But
Pride rules, he wins.
Because he had the most impressive bloody face?
No, because they emphasize the end of the fight.
All right.
I mean, he won that fight. If that's a street fight, he won the fight.
Yeah.
Just he lost the contest under his scoring system. I mean, you can have that outcome. You have 3-round fights. You can easily have that outcome. One guy wins two rounds closely. The other guy kicks ass in the next round, but not big enough for 10-8, and he lost. He loses the contest. The way Joe Rogan distinguishes them, he refers to the contest as the scoring and the fight as the fight.
Right.
Who would you rather be at the end of the fight?
Right.
And obviously, Dunham won the fight.
Kyle Noak versus Charlie Brenneman. Was it stopped too early?
Did not see it. I from what I was hearing, it definitely was borderline.
Because Noak,
I think borderline is the best way to describe it. I mean, I think Brenneman was maybe 1 or 2 hammer fists from being out. But
he was moving forward. Was he going for a takedown?
See, I don't. It's hard to say. Like, would he have gotten back up had Noak not backed off after being waved off? You know, it's difficult to say.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Noak would have finished him right there, no matter what.
I agree with you, but I guess what makes it borderline is it shouldn't be the referee's decision to kind of make that prediction that he should let it play out as it would have, and not say, oh well, he would have lost anyway. Well, we need to actually see that so we don't have these kinds of decisions. But Kyle Noak, I thought he looked good. He looked really good. He had some even before that. I mean, it was by no means a lucky punch. I mean, you could tell that Noak has really been working on his stand-up game. He looked really good on the feet. Those stiff jabs, he had a really impressive stiff jab that just seemed to shock the hell out of Charlie Brenneman in that round before he was able to, I think he landed a right hook or something with his hand. That was actually the beginning of the end for Charlie Brenneman. Mitch Gagnon defeated Walla Watson, submission rear naked choke. I don't think that was a huge surprise to anybody. I think Seth Baczynski beating Simeon Thorson though was a bit of a surprise for people because I think people were really high on Thorson. I was saying Seth B is looking really good. He's 4-0 since he's been back to the octagon. I think he deserves a step up. What do you think, Kohi, since you're our resident matchmaker? Where would you like to see Baczynski go next?
Kyle Noak.
You're so good. I like it. And the likelihood of them making that match are pretty good, considering that Kohi's phone is more than likely tapped. Yeah, I think that would be an interesting little contest there. And if we had to make a preliminary prediction, how would you see that fight going for either one of those guys? I mean, Seth is he's really big for that division. But Noak really has shown that he's super strong, I think, at that weight.
Yeah, I still think I would lean more towards Baczynski in that fight. Baczynski's a little more savvy on the ground, not only with his submissions, but with his top control, and that's where we have seen Noak have his weaknesses. If you put him on his back, he's definitely going to struggle. Noak might be the better striker, but I don't think he has the power that Baczynski has either.
Right. And, I want to clarify, I am still happy that Vinny Magalhaes won his fight. And I would also like to say I'm very disappointed in Igor Kryak's tweets afterwards.
Didn't he apologize, though?
He did apologize, but you know what? He apologized after people gave him shit for it. Like, did you not know that those tweets were going to be met with disdain? Like, did he really write them and think everybody's going to really like these? No.
The worst part of it is he initiated the ground game.
Yes.
Yeah, he tripped him.
I mean, it would be one thing if Vinny took him to the ground. It's still absurd, as like Vinny said. Vinny said, if he knocked me out, it'd be crazy for me to say, hey, I didn't sign up for a boxing contest.
Right. Yeah. I think one problem we have seen with Vinny, and I think we will continue to see with Vinny, is he is amazing on the ground. But if he gets against somebody who is
one-dimensional,
really good, has a really great top game, a wrestler.
He's a jiu-jitsu practitioner. He's not a mixed martial artist.
No, not at all. And already people were crying, Vinny might be the guy to get John Jones. Let me tell you something.
Yeah, okay.
John Jones, so I actually ended up flying with him back from Toronto to Baltimore because his brother,
so cool.
His brother plays for the Ravens, and
that's right.
His younger brother plays for the Patriots, and they were playing each other that weekend. So he was coming to support his bros. We're on this little 20-seater puddle jumper from Toronto to Baltimore, and we just chatted most of the way. I let him go to sleep eventually. I was like, I'm sorry, dude. I know you're tired, but we had fun talking to each other. I think he's a really nice kid. I think that's his personality that people don't like. They say that he's fake, and then that's him. He has this kind of Ninja Turtle-esque, philosophy, and he definitely cares a little. Cares too much, I think, about what other people think about him. He's just a kid, and he was very nice. He was funny. But I mentioned that. I said, people are probably going to think that Vinny's going to be the next guy to take you out. And then, of course, he asks me, being the young champ that he is, he says, how do you think my first real loss is going to look like? Do you think it'll be by TKO, or do you think it'll be by submission? Or
a decision. Did he not even...
No,
he's assuming he's getting finished in his first loss.
Yeah, I think that's what I think.
Assume that, John.
I think that his first loss is going to be a spectacular one. He's been so spectacular in all of his fights. Wouldn't that just be fate if his first loss?
How crazy would it have been if Belfort won with that armbar?
Apparently, that armbar was in. It was about as in as it could possibly be. And
he could have won the fight there, and then you'd hear everybody saying, "Well, Vitor's back."
No. Vitor did expose a little bit of something about John Jones that I don't think anybody quite was aware of, that maybe his submission defense needs a little bit of work. But to think that he's going to go back and not spend every day working on submission defense would be a mistake on his opponent's part. I guarantee you he will not get into that same little position, the same position again. His opponents are going to be...
His long limbs might be a real detriment as far as subs go.
Yeah.
There's a lot of arm to grab onto there.
Yeah, there is a lot of arm. He's a long mofo. He had to sit in the back... I had to sit in the back of the plane. It was just a weird plane that had the single back seat. I don't know if you've ever been on a plane like that before. Like the old station wagons, the single long seat in the back. And
he wasn't in first class?
Well, the plane I was on did not have a first class. It didn't have a first class or a coach. We were all the same because it was only 20 seats. So, and that's literal.
Oh, one of those.
Yeah, well, that's not me exaggerating, saying, "Oh, this plane only had 20 seats."
That's like when you're up there, you're like, "How am I going to stay up here?"
Yeah, but you know what? I felt more comfortable in a small plane than I do in a big plane. I don't know what it was, but takeoff is a snap. Like the plane starts going down the runway, next thing you know, you're not on there anymore. With the big planes, you're like, why is it taking us 20 minutes to lift off the ground? Like, I don't understand. This is creeping me out. So I kind of liked the small planes. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Kobe.
Well, just to go back about the submission defense of John Jones and his long limbs, I mean, if you look back at I believe it was the Brandon Vera fight, Joe Rogan really started pointing that out early about how Jones is extremely long-limbed, and also he kind of leaves his arms there for the taking. Just the kind of position that he had it in. And I remember Vera throwing up for a couple arm bars in that fight as well.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Wouldn't surprise me if Greg Jackson might even train John Jones to kind of leave his stuff out there a little bit, because there's a saying that the most vulnerable moment for a fighter is when he's attacking, and maybe that is part of their plan is lulling the opponent to a sense of, okay, well, I have this submission ready here, and then that leaves him open for John Jones to do other things. Obviously, they did not work out that way with Vitor Belfort, but it seemed to work out that way really well for Jones in the Vera fight. I don't know. I'm making up shit. That's what I do. That's what we're doing over here, people, is we're making up shit. Let's talk about this cancel card real quick.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I know David is...
Really?
David is devastated. I wish I could see you. I could send you guys the tweet.
I was super devastated. I was like, I can't get fuel, and now they're canceling this amazing Strikeforce Challenger show. That's what it was, except for Gilbert. I mean, they really did have to cancel the show. No one's going to watch.
Yes. No, they absolutely did. But is this a bad sign for Zuffa? Not, obviously.
Hopefully it's a bad sign for Showtime Zuffa relations. That's what I'm hoping.
The rumor has it that Showtime is still trying to figure out, still trying to work out another deal with.
They want MMA, but I hope they eventually want to give up on Strikeforce, because that'll be the best thing for fans.
Yeah.
I wasn't looking forward to Gilbert Melendez against Pat Healy anyway. That's not who Gilbert Melendez should be fighting.
No.
Please.
No. Yeah, absolutely.
Hey,
Who else was on the card? Let me look at it.
no one else. I could not believe.
I mean, you weren't
What I was
excited
looking at.
about Yuto Innocente?
I forgot about that.
Or Carlos Fodor? That's like the weirdest name ever. It sounds like somebody trying to say another name but saying it wrong. Adriano Martins. I mean,
They should try to get guys like the guy that was going to fight Batista that got hurt, Rashid Evans. Like with one letter off to fool people.
Yeah.
We'll be we have OSP fighting tonight. Put up a picture of St. Pierre.
Not even close.
Chuck Liddell with an E at the end of his last name.
Chuck Liddell.
It's better than what they've got going.
Oh, I think that's the way Strikeforce needs to go. They need to just find a bunch of fighters with names that sound awfully familiar.
Close to stars.
You know what? I'm looking at this.
Jones.
I'm looking at the card. I actually would have watched it without Melendez.
Really? I mean, I've watched worse. But
Well, like, Inocente's last fight was freaking amazing. I like Jean Vellante a lot. Jorge Santiago coming back into the Zuffa fold. I like watching, Josh Housen versus Carlos Fedor. I think that would have been a good fight.
Now I'm pissed that they canceled this card. Thanks a lot, Justin. Fuck, man. I didn't care about it till you just...
I know. What, trying to make us care.
Yeah, really, Justin.
Boo on you.
Thanks.
I'm booing this man. Boo this man. Boo this man. Boo.
Boo.
So the card that is coming up this weekend on Full TV is, of course, headlined by Stipe Miocic of the Cleveland Miocics. So don't get them confused. Versus Stefan, I can't find my range, Struve. I do think Dan Hardy versus Amir Sadallah is going to be a good fight. I like Amir Sadallah in terms of his personality, but he has not developed at all as a fighter. The UFC keeps trying to cram him down our throats, and I think Dan Hardy may be the man to kind of put his ankle in it and put Amir out in this fight.
Yeah, I kind of expect that. I'm sad about it because I like Amir.
I think Brad Pickett is going to destroy Yves Dubuin. I just think he's just too tough of a guy for Dubuin. What do you think? Cohee
I agree, and then I think he might have Mike Easton after that.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have and I think we need to put Mike Easton against a guy who's willing to really put it out there. I think Mike Easton has everything it takes to be a really exciting fighter, but they put him up against guys that aren't really willing to kind of put it out there. And I think Brad Pickett will make the fight more exciting. I think they'll feed off each other in really positive ways, and it'll be a really exciting fight. Paul Sass versus Matt Wyman. Matt Wyman always delivers in his fight, so I think that may end up being a really exciting submission win for Paul Sass. I think Hathaway McGuire. I think that's an interesting fight. McGuire had a really great submission win over Johnson, DeMarcus Johnson. That armbar it came out of nowhere. Really liked his submission skills. And we know Hathaway has he can be tricky as well. So I think we're in for a little bit of a treat. Oh, and then there's Dwayne Ludwig and Che Mills. I didn't know Che Mills was still in the UFC. That came to a little bit of a surprise.
I'm excited for that fight.
Really, Che Mills?
I don't know. I mean, okay, Che Mills got thrashed by Rory McDonald, but that's what Rory McDonald does.
Yeah.
Well, Che Mills didn't deserve to be in that fight. This is the exact type of fight that Che Mills needs to be in, with another kickboxer where they're just going to go out there and it's going to be exciting barn burner type stuff. I think I'm excited for it.
Okay, all right. You know what? I'm going to believe you, Cohee, because a lot of times you end up being right, and I'm just going to stop fighting it.
Gunnar Nelson making his UFC debut too. I couldn't be more excited to see that dude.
Yeah, Johnson came in overweight for their fight, so I don't know if that'll have any effect whatsoever on the outcome of the fight. But Johnson did come in overweight, but he did come in on late notice or short notice.
Okay, here's another thing. DeMarcus Johnson last fought not that long ago and was violently knocked out.
Yeah.
How is he not still suspended?
I don't know. Maybe he's got a really thick head. Really thick head.
He'd have to.
I do like Brad Tavares. I don't think it's going to be an exciting fight, but I like him because during that season of The Ultimate Fighter, my mom was like, "Ooh, he's cute." I just think it's funny. Every time I see him, I'm like, "My mom thinks you're cute." But Kyle Kingsbury.
I hope he gets his face punched in.
Who? Brad Tavares?
No, Kyle Kingsbury.
Kyle Kingsbury? Why do you want Kyle Kingsbury to get his face punched?
I don't like him.
What don't you like about him?
I don't think he's UFC material.
Oh.
Everyone's just like, oh, he's such an athlete. He's got so much potential. And I was like, well, maybe, but I'm not seeing it.
You're not buying it. Robert Peralta, he puts on good fights, and I think him and Jason Young, they start off the preliminary card on Facebook. I think that'll be a really good fight as well. You're right. Looking through the card, I think it'll be a decent little scrap. I'm still bitter that I'm not actually going to be there, but whatever. I'll get over it eventually. I did hear and read that the caveman himself, Clay Guida, is dropping to 145. Any thoughts on that? How do you think that he'll fare in the featherweight division? I don't think... I think it's his style of fighting. I don't think it was his size at all. I think it's his style of fighting that hinders him in the long run. But what are your guys' thoughts on him dropping a weight class?
I like it.
I think it's go, David.
I'm very happy to see any, I don't want to say top level fighter, but any top 10 lightweight in that, extremely loaded division drop down to 145 and bring something there. I mean, 145, we can't even figure out, who to give title shots to. We have to go to Frankie Edgar coming down. So anytime we have a fighter that maybe not elite, but has exciting fights most of the time and is at least, mid-level as a lightweight, I'm hoping for the best. I hope he can do an easy cut and add some flavor to that featherweight division.
All right. Yeah. I believe, yes, the Bellator returns tonight. I'm actually...
Yeah, I know. I have my DVR set.
I'm actually kind of excited about it. I am definitely more so excited about that than the Ultimate Fighter tonight, which I will likely miss out on again. Oh, boo. And not miss it at all. The debut did awful. I am sure subsequent episodes will continue to do worse. And until Dana White stops being an ass and actually realizes that they need to do something about this franchise. Because I'm surprised.
Is he sabotaging the program? The only reason I'd say that is because of the comment he made a few months ago that if it still does poorly on Friday nights, they're going to give us a different night.
Which I'm
not sure they will.
No.
But could that be the strategy at work? Because I don't know. I DVR'd last week's show and I erased it. I'm just basing it on Josh Nason's reviews, and I'll look right to the end of his review. If it's like, is this worth seeing? I'll check it out. I'll check out a fight.
I heard the fight wasn't good.
He said it was completely skippable, so I deleted it. Shane Carwin, how could you not know that Shane Carwin was not going to bring charisma to the table? Roy Nelson can be an entertaining guy, but I just don't understand the dynamic there at all.
Yeah, and if you've noticed, Dana White has not been hyping this season as much as he has in the past, where he's like, oh, there's going to be some good stuff. He hasn't done any of that. So you might be right. Maybe I'm overlooking the fact that this is like a conspiracy.
I'm not sure they're going to get a better night. It's FX. It's not Spike.
Yeah, where would they be able to fit it?
Exactly. I'm not. There are almost any night is better than Friday. But I'm not sure FX is gonna want to put the Ultimate Fighter on any other night except Friday. And then you still have these fuel shows. This whole deal really sucks. Just sucks.
It really does.
I really last year at this time, I could never have envisioned that I'd be so regretful of this Fox contract.
I feel like they could fit it somewhere. It may not be.
That's what she said.
Oh, I mean that is what she said. I wish I could find like an FX schedule, like a calendar schedule. I just want to know schedule FX. Let me see if I can find a schedule on the FX website that will show me what comes on.
I mean, Ultimate Fighter's doing worse than what other shows do on Friday. They're movies on Friday night.
Yeah, that was what was funny. Like they showed like the Karate Kid with like Will Smith's son. Then the Ultimate Fighter came on, and then a replay of the Karate Kid came on, and the replay of Karate Kid did better than the Ultimate Fighter. And that movie sucks.
It was not good. It got some good reviews, and I was definitely disappointed.
Mondays are definitely very open for FX. Actually, looking at their schedule,
yeah.
Mondays are very open because
But Monday you're up against Monday Night Football during part of the year. You're up against Raw.
That's true.
No, Tuesdays you got Sons of Anarchy, and if they move Sons of Anarchy, I will.
You will.
Oh, come on! Yeah, they're gonna move Sons of Anarchy for Ultimate Fighter.
Actually, Tuesdays seem, for the most part, pretty open before Sons of Anarchy. Like I'm showing at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock they show a movie, from 8 to 10, and then they show the repeat of the previous episode of Sons of Anarchy, and then they show the new episode. So
the repeat of Sons of Anarchy would probably do better than a first run Ultimate Fighter.
I mean, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to have the Ultimate Fighter there, people tuning in to see, because this is what got me for the Ultimate Fighter to begin with, was I was actually tuning in for wrestling, and I believe the Ultimate Fighter came on before.
Got a lot of them. It came on after.
Did it come on after? Like you would watch it and you would see.
That was the Lieben Josh Koscheck season.
Yes,
and that's what really drew people in. Not the fight itself, but the feud leading to the fight.
I think it's
disappointing.
I think it's a completely savable concept. There are going to have to be some major changes in terms of the way the show is formulated right now. But I think the UFC can have a weekly reality television show. I do not think the current format is what.
Have you guys watched Fight Factory yet?
No, we haven't, David. You know we're
because
lame.
Maybe they could change to that format and not bring in unknowns, because you're not finding. You just don't have the unknowns that are going to become super players in UFC.
Because they're going to the other promotions. They're going to Bellator. They're going to, Bellator.
So UFC could have their cameras and their show just follow around certain fighter or certain team for a season.
Right.
So, like HBO does with some football teams. You can go behind the scenes at Jackson's if you wanted to.
Ooh, a Hard Knocks or Jackson's would be. I like that, David.
Yeah. Actually, FX
has run its course. This has really run its course.
I'm looking at their schedule. They have plenty of space that they could put it on, practically every day of the week. That doesn't include the weekend and Friday. There is space somewhere, either making it an 8 o'clock show or a 9 o'clock show, but they have space there. They have other shows, obviously, that they need to work around, and I think it's completely possible, especially since the shows that we're talking about, Sons of Anarchy, and you talk about that's an AMC show, Sons of Anarchy and Breaking Bad. They could do an 8 o'clock show. They could do a 9 o'clock show on FX, and right now, it seems like most of the time they just show reruns of 2.5 Men, and if any plan involves having less of that show broadcast, I'm in.
I do hate that show.
That show is awful. I don't understand. And then, okay, I'm going to go on a little rant here. So I watch the Emmys. I love award shows. I know a lot of people don't like award shows. I like award shows. I am that person that likes to root for that one show or that one person. American Dad got nominated for an Emmy, so I was watching to see if they would win. And they lost out to Penguins of Madagascar, which is just kind of strange to me. But at least Simpsons didn't win. That was really what I didn't want to happen. But anyway.
Simpsons was nominated?
Simpsons was nominated. Yes, that should be the appropriate reaction. Simpsons was nominated? Yes, they were.
Is it
They
like
just get nominated every.
It was
lifetime achievement nomination?
It was The Simpsons. It was Bob's Burgers. It was Futurama. It was American Dad, and it was Penguins of Madagascar. And I think it was one more like kiddie show that was nominated. I can't think of right now off the top of my head. I don't even think it was Phineas and Ferb. I would accept that win over Penguins of Madagascar. But whatever. But
The Simpsons should not be getting nominated.
No, they really shouldn't. They continue to get viewers because I
watch it. I watch it more out of obligation than anything. I've watched every episode they've ever had. It's from the time it was on Tracy Ullman, so like out of a sense of obligation, I still watch that show. But
it's like the game Monopoly. Like every family owns a copy of it, and you're forced to play it at some point. Nobody really wants to play that game. You just kind of do it out of a sense of obligation. It's that it's so ingrained into our culture that everybody feels like they have to do it. And it's the same thing with The Simpsons. People are like, Simpsons are coming on.
I can't believe that show. It's been around since I was like 15, 16 on Tracy Ullman. I think it's been around forever.
Yeah, it really has been. And
it's amazing.
Black and white back then.
It needs to die. It really does need to just pull the plug. And you know, Futurama is such a better show than The Simpsons. I really think that is it Matt Groening? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
I feel like him and Seth MacFarlane's journey to where they are is very, very similar. Terrence has sent me a tweet saying, breaking news, UFC 180 has been canceled due to fighters' injuries in advance.
180. Can't figure out when that is.
So,
gotta be a year away.
You know, I feel like The Simpsons was a happy accident for Matt Groening, and it picked up a lot of momentum and people really liked the show. I think Futurama was really what he wanted to do. I think Futurama is the show that he really was hoping would be successful. You know, it's very different than The Simpsons. It's you know, because that family dynamic kind of thing shtick is kind of where a lot of shows fall to first, or a lot of show creators fall to first. Same thing with Seth MacFarlane. I think Family Guy was a happy accident for him completely. It was a college project. It just gets picked up, and then next thing you know, it's the next biggest thing on television. I think American Dad is really where he wanted to go, where it's not that kind of nonsensical humor. It's more political and pop culture humor. And Family Guy just kind of took off on its own. And, you know, you don't look a gift horse in the mouth. You just kind of take it and keep going. But I feel like both those guys share that in common. Louis did win an Emmy. I don't remember which category he won for. Was it Best Male?
I think it was Best Actor, right?
No, because I think Best Actor was the guy who plays Cameron on Modern Family. Didn't he win for that?
I don't know. I don't know what Louis could have won for.
I remember seeing a picture of Louis, and he had 2 Emmys in front of him. So
I know he won one for like writing, and Breaking Bad's I can't remember that kid's name. It's not even that hard of a name to remember, and I can never remember it. The guy who plays Jesse, he won.
Yes.
No, okay, so Eric Stone Street, who plays Cameron, won for a supporting actor in a comedy series. Homeland and Modern Family pretty much just came in and just kicked everybody's ass. John Cryer won, which I was like, why? Why are we still giving him awards for that show? It's just not a good show. I don't care what you say. John Cryer, he's the guy from 2.5 Men, who is not, you know, Ashton Kutcher. Or that chunky kid who's strangely gotten really tall. It's kind of creepy. Louis won for writing for a comedy series. That's one of his wins. Jimmy Fallon won for guest in a comedy series. I'm trying to think.
Jimmy Fallon's the worst.
Yeah, John Cryer was the one who won for lead actor in a comedy series. Did you say Jimmy Fallon's the worst?
Yeah.
I love Jimmy Fallon. You can take that back.
I put him and Ashton Kutcher in like the room of celebrities I want to hit with a bat.
Oh. How you gonna hit it? we'll hear something sad. I was watching Ellen today, and she had Selena Gomez as a guest on there because she's the voice of one of the characters on Hotel Transylvania. And I actually like Selena Gomez. I think she seems pretty cool. And
I don't know who that is.
Oh, wow. And do you know who that is, David?
I'm not sure. I might. I'm not sure though.
She's a Disney girl. She's had a couple of songs on the radio. She's dating Justin Bieber.
No, I don't know who she is. I've heard the name though.
At least David's heard the name. I think Justin's.
I'm sorry, I don't watch the Disney Channel.
You don't have to watch the Disney Channel, dude. She's like one of the most famous chicks under the age of 21. I'm done with you. Our friendship is over. Over Selena Gomez.
If you can't go to a bar with me, I'm not interested.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus won for Veep, which I still haven't seen yet. Have you seen that show yet, David?
I've watched every episode. I hate it with a passion.
Really?
Yeah, I hate that show.
I love Julia Louis-Dreyfus, though. I think
I love her.
Why did you
she's
hate
good
it
on
so
it.
much, David?
I think the writing is terrible. It's They think referring to a bodily function or cursing it should make you laugh in itself.
Terrible? Would you say it's
terrible?
terrible?
Oh my God! I really have a huge dislike of the show, and it thinks it's so clever. Oh my God!
I mean,
it's very self-satisfied, and it's really juvenile humor. And I like juvenile humor if it's done right.
Do you think Lena Dunham should have won? I haven't seen Girls yet, but everybody thinks Girls.
I think she's amazingly
pretty
talented.
amazing. I did like. Did you watch the Emmys at all, David? Are you a award show?
Nah. I mean, I looked to see who won, but I didn't.
So during that particular category, it was the people nominated was Lena Dunham for Girls, Melissa McCarthy for Mike and Molly. I love her. Zooey Deschanel for New Girl. Edie Falco for Nurse Jackie, Amy Poehler for Parks and Rec, and of course Tina Fey for 30 Rock. Because as long as 30 Rock is on the air, she will get nominated for.
It's a Simpsons type of.
I don't think so. I still think 30 Rock is extremely clever and funny.
I am not watching it now, so I can't comment.
The Simpsons.
You were saying that as long as it's on the air, she's going to get nominated.
Oh yes, no, she absolutely. I mean, but this is
she deserves it.
This is the last season of 30 Rock, so. They aren't pulling a Simpsons where they feel like they have to be around for the next 50 years. But Julia Louis-Dreyfus got, when they announced her name, she jumps up. Her and Amy Poehler, they grasp hands together, and they're all giddy. Amy's happy for her, and Julia's happy that she's happy for her. She gets up there, and they played a little gag on the audience where Julia Louis-Dreyfus has accidentally, quote-unquote, they've accidentally switched acceptance speeches. So as she starts to read her acceptance speech, it's like, I'd like to thank the cast of Parks and Recreation and blah, blah, blah. It was really funny. It was really cute. And that's why I like Julia Louis-Dreyfus. I think she's just a good champ about everything. Aaron Paul, that's his name from Breaking Bad, who won Best Supporting Actor in a drama series.
I know Homeland won, and I like Homeland's first season a whole lot, but Breaking Bad's the best drama.
I liked Homeland except for the finale. I didn't think they did a very good job with the finale. I don't know. There was something about it I just couldn't.
I wasn't even going to come back to it because I think what I didn't like about the finale is it seemed to set up a ridiculous second season when the context of the show probably should have run only one season.
Right.
You know, and from what I've been reading, they overcome some of the difficulties there. And on the first few episodes of this coming season. So I'm going to stick with it. So I was ready to just drop it. And not because I didn't think the finale was bad. I thought it was okay. I just did not like the way they laid the groundwork for the second season. I'm not sure they could have done anything else. I think this was a type of story where, once you discover if he's switched sides, it's
that's
over
it.
As far as the show, as far as what I liked about the show. If they're going to turn it into a 24, that's not what I'm watching it for.
And Kohi, I'm going to assume that you didn't watch it, but it might have been worth watching for Sofia Vergara's back of her dress ripped completely down.
Oh, damn.
I know. That would have been worth seeing, right? Because that broad, swear to God. She could call. How you've seen the movie Troy, right? You've seen that, right?
I have.
And
I have not.
So I actually can't think of the broad's name who played Helen of Troy. She's cute. Don't get me wrong. Like, she's worth about 900 ships, no problem, right there. But 1,000 ships, I think that's a bit steep. I don't think she's quite worth 1,000 ships. Sofia Vergara, she's about 2,000 ships.
This is going to be so random, but I know Erica's seen The Sopranos. Justin, have you seen The Sopranos? Not necessarily all of them.
Yeah, somewhat here and there.
Do you remember the girl on the show Hunter? Was played by David Chase's daughter. And she's supposed to be, I guess, pretty or hot because guys are coming onto her. But God almighty.
Dog.
Oh my God. You know, it's horrible. I feel terrible because I'm like, oh my God, it takes me out of the story because, you know, like Christopher's friend is hitting on her. And I'm like, just not an attractive girl. Look her up. Look up Hunter in The Sopranos.
Okay. So.
And then keep in mind that she's playing a character that appears to be, she should be attractive because guys are coming onto her, like seriously coming onto her.
The picture I found is this chick I feel sad now.
He's sad.
You feel sad because I'm right, and you feel bad, or you feel sad because
I feel sad because I'm looking at this.
Right? It's like, holy shit. I mean, I know you want to get your daughter on the show, but wow, it's kind of a problem.
You said Hunter. There it is.
It's not a huge problem, but I mean, it's just anytime they start hitting on her, I'm like, are you fucking for real? Please. And she plays like hard to get. I'd be like, this girl would be so over. She'd be such a slut. She'd be the kind of girl. Come on, you pay attention to her at all? That's it.
I'm still trying to find an image of her. They didn't have an image. Oh, are you serious?
Yeah, I'm serious. Yeah,
are you,
right?
You're kidding, right? Like I'm looking at the wrong picture.
I'm not kidding.
She wasn't even.
Did you find the picture where her eyebrows are jumping out of the picture and she's wearing like a red shirt or something?
Yes. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I feel mean for saying this. I didn't even write anything on Facebook ever about this because I'm like, I'm so horrible. But it's like if your character is supposed to be pretty or hot, you know, or attractive to guys, like I think it's fair to say like this girl is kind of ugly. Look, I mean, I'm sure she's very nice on the inside.
Well, she kind of has to be if she looks like that.
She'd have to be, right? And if Christopher or Christopher's friends were hitting on her, she'd be all over that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Come on,
man.
She's gonna play hard to get. That girl's not playing hard to get.
No, she's really not. She wasn't even the cute girl in high school.
Play hard to get.
Okay, now it's just us bashing on some actress who
That's
makes more
so
money
horrible.
than all of us put together. But you know what? I think that gives us a right to bash her for a little bit.
Well, you know,
longer.
like Francis Ford Coppola got so personally offended by the criticism of his daughter in Godfather Part 3. So offended. Like,
I mean, it's his daughter. You expect to, I would expect my father to get offended. If I was his daughter and they were talking bad about me and my dad didn't get offended, I'd be upset. Like, Daddy, you got to protect me. That's what daddies are for. He's supposed to be offended, even if he thinks it's true.
Truman, when he was president, I think he wanted to get into a fight with someone who was critical of his daughter's piano playing. I'm trying to remember the story. But Truman freaked out.
Oh, apparently Truman was a little gangster. I didn't know that.
Somebody's dropping nuclear bombs. Like, hey, here's one. And it's enough. Here's another. We're not going to give you time to see what's going on. Let's drop another. Let's see. It's slightly different. Let's see the effects of this second one. They haven't given up yet? You mean in the complete turmoil of that first nuclear bomb? Let's drop another one.
That, you know, apparently that's what you're supposed to do. All right, guys. So 6:30 tonight is Bellator 74. I would recommend people tune in for that. Ultimate Fighter comes on at some point tonight.
Yeah, but that Bellator, that's got to be Spike.com at 6:30. I don't think it goes on the air on MTV2 until 8 o'clock.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's the preliminaries or whatever. The preliminaries coming on at 6:30 on Spike.com or MMA
or whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah. So what are you guys doing this weekend? I feel like we're to that point now because there really isn't a whole lot of really interesting news. And usually I get my news from BloodyElbow.com, and They've
Oh Lord.
SB Nation has redone their entire layout, and it is garbage. I understand as a designer,
The other guys were talking about that.
I can understand why a designer would present it, because it's aesthetically it is very pleasing to the eye. I think it's just colorful and whatnot, but it just functionally it's just fucked. It's not. It's hard to.
What was funny was that like the Bloody Elbow and SB Nation guys, like because like Fagan was. What the hell is that noise?
I believe.
Is that your child?
I believe that's.
Birth already? Already?
I think that's.
Why do you say so? Congrats, Dustin. Oh my God.
Hey, what's up, Terrence?
I'll babysit.
Babysit. I hear you, man.
What's going on?
We're just talking about this SB Nation new layout, and it's just not. It's very it's more designy than functionally. Like it's not a functional design at all.
Offer what they think are improvements, and they just make the whole experience less enjoyable or more difficult.
Yeah,
it happens so often. I'm like, how could you like? Who says? Who gives a green light on this? Like, isn't there someone there that's like, hey, this is not as pleasant an experience. It's not user friendly anymore.
Yeah, it's completely not user friendly. I mean, just to find the things that you want, and it's not just a matter of getting used to. I mean, and you want your regulars to get used to it, and they will. Your regulars will continue to come to your site no matter what. But in terms of gaining new fans, they're gonna have a hard time figuring out how to get to things, and they will not come back. And that's the danger.
Well, even if you change, you're gonna have a good portion of people that aren't gonna come back to you if like they're used to going to you every day.
Yeah.
It's very easy to break a habit like that. And then there's so many websites, there's so many MMA sites. And and I've done that like when I get pop-up ads on certain sites, or if I felt like the site was redesigned in a way I don't like, there's so many options.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not like, you don't have anything unique going on at Bloody Elbow. And you might have some decent articles once in a while, but news is news. I don't really go anywhere.
Bloody Elbow, I think their claim to fame has to be the
very cool name.
the how they purposely write stories to incite rage and anger in MMA fans. That is their thing. If you're looking for a place to argue about something, Bloody Elbow is the place to go. And a lot of guys, especially the people who work there are like, I think the comment section is fairly tame. Look, it's definitely, in terms of comment sections, it's much better than going to like MMA Junkie or Sure Dog, for sure.
Is it moderated? Is that why?
Is it what?
Shut that kid up, Justin.
What's going on?
It's not me.
Shut that kid up. It's you. I don't think you're making the noise. I'm saying, tell him to shut up.
Hey, Terrence, are you planning to watch the Fuel Card this weekend?
Yeah, it depends on college football on, but I will peep at it. It's not on my priority list. It's stretching itself so thin that card it's not a great card.
It's not a bad card though. When we looked over it.
What's going on?
Say what?
When did Terrence show up? Did I miss something?
Apparently, yeah, because he said something before too. He smoked. Apparently, David is smoking that good stuff.
It's Justin's kid. Shut that kid up.
Justin and his many children as he starts to
big family in that household.
Apparently not.
Give him a drink.
So maybe some NyQuil. I think that maybe needs a shot of Benadryl.
Yeah, he should be good, man. Yeah. The only thing about that fuel card is it comes on so early, and you got to wonder what type of numbers they're going to get on that card because we're trying to airs against college football, and it's on TV, so it's not going to do any big numbers. So it is what it is. The UFC right about that.
Let me ask you guys a question. Is there Is there a reason MMA fans care about
Cody.
numbers?
Justin, what the hell, man?
Why do MMA fans care so much about numbers? You don't really see too many other sports franchise fans. Oh wow! I might have to cut you off here.
Oh, I got it.
Justin.
Whoa. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. So why do we care about fans so much?
Terrence, you are a saint.
Wait, that's not Justin's kid?
It might be
Oh,
Justin's
man.
kid, and Terrence is babysitting. He did just say he was
Yeah.
babysitting.
Oh, it is. Okay, it is Justin's kid. All right.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
How many kids do you have, Justin?
Justin probably has quite a few. I imagine.
I can't be entirely sure.
Who can? Can you give an estimate? Rough estimate? 2, 4? How many are you supporting?
Oh, that's a big fat zero right there. That's a big fat zero.
Yeah, one thing I'm broke all the time.
Why do MMA fans care about numbers?
Yeah.
What other sport do you really have? Football, baseball, those aren't on pay-per-view. I think the business model sort of lends itself to that type of analysis. When you're, you can really look. It is strange because you don't have football fans look at what ratings this game did versus this game. But I'm not sure, Erica.
I just think it's very curious. That's something very common that we all kind of have in common is we talk about numbers.
Yeah, but you got to look at, football has been around there and established where MMA, each show has to have a certain growth to show that the fans really care. If the fans only care about certain names, then we only will, flow to certain fighters, and then the sport is not growing. So I think that's why numbers are so important, where, say other networks might want to get in MMA and they look at the numbers that the UFC is doing, they may not want to, go and do that. And you look at their numbers as a whole right now with the Ultimate Fighter doing bad. So you got to expect that this show is going to do terrible numbers because nobody has really been advertising on any other network besides Fuse. So you really don't, if you're just an average MMA fan, a guy that, picks up on it every now and then, you don't even know this card is happening tomorrow. So, as far as numbers, it is important because it shows growth and it shows non-growth at the same time.
Yeah, but I can see that generally, but we dissect every show, and in a way that I don't think fans of other sports do. And I don't know if it's related entirely to MMA being a relatively young sport. You don't see football fans just don't care that one, unless a game does outrageously record numbers. You just don't see discussions of this game did this ratings, this game did, they care about the quality of the game. And,
well, I think I just think that the MMA fans have this obsession with numbers, partially because they seem to have bought into Dana White's idea that, this is the fastest growing sport in the world. This is, mainstream and all that kind of stuff. So then, they're ready to jump on the numbers and be like, oh yeah, look how awesome these numbers are. This is definitely, the sport's definitely mainstream and all that kind of stuff.
But pay-per-view can never tell you that, though. You know what I mean? Pay-per-view is such a niche thing, and it costs $55. I can understand looking at some ratings for the free shows, but the pay-per-view business, that's not going to give you an indication of a sport really growing. You have an outlier like the UFC 100 doing 1.7 million, but again, on a month-to-month basis, we're looking at 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 buy shows, and they're all in the similar range. Kind of doesn't matter in the big picture, but we do look at show to show. We're like, wow, Frankie Edgar's not selling pay-per-views. It's just an interesting way to analyze a sport.
And we seem to really care. It's not just this objective look at numbers. We really care about the numbers.
And it's a weird phenomenon. And I've thought about how strange it is. I can't really articulate why it's happening, but I've thought about how odd it is to care so much about numbers that, really, like, only the owners of the company should probably care about or need to care about.
Yeah, and they do make a point of announcing those numbers to us, especially when they think the numbers are good numbers. They make a point of announcing it to us, when really, I don't think most people really can grasp the what the numbers really mean. I mean, we see a number and then we just compare it to what they tell us a good number is, and that's how we judge whether or not these numbers are good. They tell us that 2.2 million is an amazing number to have. So then we judge all the numbers compared to that, when, the reality is there are plenty of shows out there that get 13, 14, 20 million people watching them every week. So it's all relative to the show and the network. And I don't know, I just think it's a very interesting thing that they've kind of turned the MMA fans into self-proclaimed Nielsen's ratings experts. And we kind of are. I think, most people who aren't aware of numbers and stuff like that, I think we have better knowledge of it as a result.
Really, if Dana White thinks that Chael Sonnen's a bigger draw than John Jones, we need to be analyzing these numbers. He certainly can't.
He can't. He really can't. What did you think of 152, Terrence, before we let you go? What did you think of 152?
I thought the main event was better than I thought. It lasted longer than I thought. I thought Jones probably was going to eat Vito alive, but he hung around long. It was worth it. But the flyweight title match was a good fight. As you know, I'm not a Bisbing guy, but
wait, did you think the flyweight title fight was actually a good fight, or are you just being nice?
I thought it was an okay fight. I thought it was a decent fight.
You don't have to say that to us, Terrence. You can be honest here. You can be honest here, man. Come on, that fight. You can admire it, but that's not a fight you'd ever want to watch again. Right?
Oh yeah. Well, you got to look at it, man. I mean, they won 25-pounders, so it is what it is. You're going to get what you get from that division. So that's why I say, for what it was worth, it was a good fight. I thought Bisping finally won a big fight finally in the UFC. I'm not saying put him in the ring with Anderson Silva. Yeah, I still think he needs one more win. But, he beat Brian Stann, but you also got to say who Brian Stann beat, to jump Bisping to the top of the line. But, like I say, he finally won a big fight. So, maybe if he fight one more time, then, we go from there with him.
Doesn't it really depend on what happens with George St. Pierre?
Oh, God.
George St. Pierre wins. They're going to do Anderson against George. George loses to Carlos Condit. You could put Bisping in there with Anderson.
I really do not want to see that fight. Are you serious, people? I mean, I feel like
that fight's going to do crazy numbers.
It will do crazy numbers. I still think it's crazy. I think it's crazy that people think just because GSP has really good takedowns at 170 pounds that he's going to be able to take down Anderson Silva, and I just don't think it's going to happen. I just don't.
It's definitely not going to happen, or I would say I don't think it's going to happen, but I think it's a good fight to make if both guys are willing to fight each other. It's a
good fight to make if you want to make money. But yeah. I don't think it's going to prove anything about Anderson Silva when he wins.
It's not going to, but who cares?
You know what would be the fight, that, people will probably want to see bigger than that GSP and Anderson Silva probably would be if Nick Diaz got reinstated and fought Anderson Silva at 185.
I was excited about that prospect. These guys poo-pooed on it, but I think that's an amazing little fight.
I think
I'd rather see Diaz versus GSP. You got storyline there at least. I just think Anderson Silva would destroy Nick Diaz, and I think he would destroy George St. Pierre.
I think it'd be a good fight, though. I think it would still be a good fight. I don't think, in the world where we're putting Anderson Silva up against people we are fairly confident he's going to beat. I would much rather see the fight against Nick Diaz, which is guaranteed to be interesting, than George St. Pierre, who will probably want to thank everybody for coming to see the fight.
I was not impressed with your performance.
But right now, GSP is still a bigger star than Nick Diaz. He's still got that aura. Anderson against GSP will do bigger numbers than probably anything except Anderson against John Jones for the time being.
Oh man, that's tough. I mean, GSP hasn't fought like a year now, and if he loses against Condit, all that's out the window. But I mean, when Nick comes back, you probably can put Nick in there around February, March, or April to fight Anderson. And the thing with Nick right now, because you don't know what.
Well, how did Nick earn that? How did Nick earn the title shot here?
Well, not the title shot. What I'm looking at right now is that the UFC needs some big fights. And there's nobody else at 185 you really want to see Anderson fight. You start creating some super fights. You don't know how long we're going to have Nick Diaz before he gets another suspension, before he walks away. So he's the type of guy that you got to use right now the best way you can and maximize what you can get out of him. This guy might only have 2-3 fights left, if that. So put him in with the big fights, make the big fights happen. You can put him in with
GSP after the Anderson fights GSP, regardless of the outcome of the fight. And you can still have a big fight there. I think Anderson against GSP is a lot stronger, and Anderson against Nick Diaz is a strong pay-per-view fight, but Anderson against GSP right now is still quite a bit bigger.
Yeah, but Anderson and GSP could be Pacquiao Mayweather, where it never happens because we can't agree on it, and GSP will be the smaller fight.
I think different. That's way different. The promoters,
I just think Nick's the better option, man. Nick's the better option. You got to use Nick now.
Nick will create a story that people would want to see. George St. Pierre, there's no way he creates a story.
You don't need one. You got the two champions, the two guys that.
I'm saying, but if you want to maximize your money, I think that you do want to create one. I think. I don't disagree that right now GSP and Anderson Silva would do bigger numbers, but I think with work, I think the Nick Diaz fight could create even be the beginnings of a trilogy that would be amazing.
You could build to that. Like that could still take place after Anderson. I mean, it seems pretty clear that they're doing Anderson GSP. GSP beats Condit. Yeah.
I am picking Condit to win that fight, though.
I'd love to see that just because it fucks up the plan.
I just think Condit is he's being really underestimated in this fight, but
it may not be the same GSP.
I don't think it will be. I think it's impossible
whether he's going to have the same shot. We just don't know. And then there's cage rust, which is a real thing.
Yeah.
Carlos Condit has a very good chance, and I think I said before, I think I'm going to pick Carlos Condit over GSP when the time comes to pick. I don't think I picked him over the GSP of 2 years ago, but with the unknown variables, Carlos Condit is a tough guy.
And guys, I would like to see Anderson Silva fight. Definitely Chris Weidman. I mean, we need to stop fucking around.
Oh, yeah. But that's a fight that's not going to do real business.
No, it's not going to do real business, but it's going to create a superstar in Chris Weidman, I think.
I think Weidman will beat Anderson.
Yeah, I think he will, too.
You may as well get the mileage you can out of Anderson before he loses to Weidman, which is probably going to happen.
And I think, Terrence had a good point. Michael Bisping will likely have to fight one more time before he gets the title shot, because that is just a sad story of Michael Bisping. As long as he's been in the UFC.
He's never really earned it, though. Beating Brian Stann doesn't earn you a title shot, except in a world where you don't have people ready for a title shot.
I really would have liked to have seen Michael Bisping versus Tim Boesch over Chris Weidman versus Tim Boesch. Michael Bisping versus Yushin Okami. Michael Bisping versus Alan Belcher. I would have preferred those fights. I feel like it's a waste for Chris Weidman to fight Tim Boesch. I think Chris Weidman has earned the title shot with that win over Munoz. What was that vote for?
If you agree with that, I'm fine with that. I think Weidman needs that one more win to solidify. He won that fight on Feud TV again, and I think you need to expose him one more time in order for people to know him, and just throw him in there.
At that point, you're just doing it to get more people to recognize him. But in terms of straight up earning the right to fight the champion, Chris Weidman has already done that. Whether 4 people saw it or 4 million people saw it, he earned the shot. And now it's the marketing portion of it where they want people to start recognizing his name, and that is the reason the UFC is having him fight again, and it will likely be on a pay-per-view and the whole nine. But I think it's UFC 155 is when they want that to happen. But I think Weidman has earned the shot.
Yeah.
At the point where Mark Munoz was widely considered, number 3 in the division for whatever strange reason that was.
But Yeah. Well, I mean, one other thing. I mean, with all the injuries we've been having, I mean, there's no guarantee any of this will happen. No guarantee.
No.
We get one fight set and then something else happens. So, I mean, you look what happened in the last 2 weeks in Strikeforce. Frank may have been out, now Gilbert. So, I mean, you never know who's going to get the call, who's going to fight who. So it's just basically hold your breath and hope these fights happen.
I mean, that is basically where we're left exactly, is hoping that these fights happen. And I don't know what the solution is. We talk about it a lot on the show, but all of these injuries are killing the UFC right now. And Dana White is doing nothing but lashing out. Dana White is lashing out at reporters who are just pointing out facts that Toronto did not sell out. It sold out the last time.
Is that amazing too?
What?
How he freaked out at that reporter?
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like a lot of stuff all in one time period, and it could be his Meniere's disease. It could be, these injuries are getting to him. I think he's cracking under the pressure. I think really
it's
do.
Assholism.
Assholism? I have heard of it.
Assholism.
Is there a cure for assholism? Puppies, maybe. Puppies and kittens.
Use a few puppies.
A couple of kittens. Taking some pictures with him rolling around with kittens, I think would at least put a dent in that disease. But
assholism.
Yes, it's very serious. It's plaguing the nation, actually. All right, guys, let's go ahead and close up shop. Any closing remarks from you, Justin?
I got nothing.
And David?
Assholism.
Assholism. It's serious, people. The more you know. Anything from you, Terrence?
I just want to bring attention to Justin that Ronda Rousey is okay. She's not a 10. I had to slide that one in, buddy. I mean, she's okay, but she needs a little work. She talks with her head down a lot. She's okay, but she's not a 10. Craig Cotton was flopping all over her last Thursday night, but she's not a 10.
Oh, damn. Oh, damn.
You've been spending too much time in Georgetown.
All right, Terrence from Northwest. All right, guys. So we're just going to close up shop here. We'll be back next Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Check us out on FightFansRadio.com. Check out some of the other Fight Fans Radio shows, also located at FightFansRadio.com or YouTube.com/FightFansRadio. Follow us on Twitter. It's at FanAddicts MMA. And follow Fight Fans Radio on Twitter. Wow, that was a Freudian slip. On Twitter at Fight Fans Radio. So until next week, you guys be safe and keep fighting. Talk to y'all later.